We've all had that horrible sinking feeling. You're locked out. And just imagine that happening in a place like London's King's Cross, one of the busiest spots on the planet. Well, in this explainer, we're digging into an article that did all the legwork for you, finding the top 3 locksmiths you should call when you're in a real jam. So let's dive right in.
Okay, so let's really set the scene here. King's Cross is more than just a train station, right? It's a constant whirlwind of people, landmarks, and offices. Getting locked out here, that's not just a small problem. It's a seriously stressful situation when you're surrounded by that much chaos.
So picture it. You're standing there, maybe with all your bags, and you have that sudden realization your keys are gone. Or, maybe the lock just gives up on you. It's that moment of pure panic. So what's the move? Who do you actually call when you're stranded?
And look, we're not talking about some abstract problem here. Imagine you're snapping a quick picture at the Harry Potter monument, and poof, your keys have vanished. Or you're getting home after a day out at Coldrop's Yard and your front door just absolutely refuses to open. In a place that busy, you don't just need a fix, you need one that's going to be fast and reliable.
Okay, so enough about the problem, let's get to the solutions. We're going to take a close look at 3 different companies that operate in the King's Cross area, and as you'll see, each one has its own unique thing going on.
All right, so our 3 main contenders are Locksmith for London, Central London Locksmith, and Camden Locksmith Ltd. Now, let's put them under the microscope and see what makes each one tick.
And this is where it gets really interesting. We're not just throwing names at you. We're going to break it down by what actually matters in an emergency. How much is this going to set me back? How close are they really? And can they actually fix a more complicated job on the spot?
The first number that just jumps off the page is this one, £29. Now, that's the starting price for Locksmith for London. In a city like London, where you expect everything to cost a fortune, that number is seriously eye-catching, especially when you're in a panic and worried about getting ripped off.
And then there's this number, which, let's be honest, might be even more crucial. Just 20 minutes. That's the potential arrival time for that same company. When you're stuck on a cold pavement, every single minute feels like an hour. So a promise like that, that's a huge, huge deal. Okay, so this little chart really lays out the trade-offs. You've got Locksmith for London, and they're clearly positioned as the top choice on price, starting at just 29 quid. But then you have Central London Locksmith. Their big selling point is being super close to the station, making them the go-to for the absolute fastest call-out time. And then there's Camden Locksmith Ltd. Their specialty is having vans that are basically mobile hardware stores, stocked with tons of parts. So they're the ones you'd call for a really tricky, complex job that needs a specific part right then and there.
So after laying out all the options, the original article doesn't just, sit on the fence. Nope, it makes a really clear recommendation. And it's all based on one major priority.
And here it is, the final verdict, straight from the source itself. So, the takeaway is pretty straightforward. If you're trying to balance cost with quality, Locksmith for London is your #1 pick. It's the top choice for anyone whose biggest worry is their wallet.
All right, let's tie all of this together now. The real key here is figuring out how to use this info to make the smartest call for your specific emergency.
It all really comes down to this one simple question. When you're out there stranded on that street corner, what is your absolute #1 priority? Because honestly, the answer to that question tells you exactly who you need to call.
So really, it boils down to this super simple checklist. If the best price is what matters most to you, Locksmith for London is your answer. If you need someone there like yesterday, especially if you're right by the station, then Central London Locksmith is going to be your best bet. And if you've got a weird, complicated lock that might need special parts, then Camden Locksmith Ltd. Is the specialist you want to call. See, this is how you turn a bunch of information into a clear plan.
And that leaves us with one final thing to think about. In that moment of pure panic, what would you choose? The cheapest fix or the fastest rescue? It's the ultimate trade-off, isn't it? And knowing your answer to that question before it happens, well, that's the real key to making the right call when it counts. Hopefully this helps you feel a little more prepared.